everyone, and welcome to the book review of A Court of Silver and Flames. This book is probably one of the most anticipated books of the year amongst readers, amongst ACOTAR fans, and let's see if it lived up to the hype. So today I opted for a crown braid in honor of Nesta because she always puts her hair like that, which I kind of liked because this is one of my go-to hairstyles, so it was kind of fun to see a character constantly wearing it in a book. I unfortunately don't have Illyrian leather, so I couldn't really quite dress up as that, so at least we have the hair. As you know, I started reading this series at the end of January, so for me it was the first time I was reading it, and I was lucky enough to get to read it all together. I didn't have to wait in between the books, and not only that, but when I finished the fourth book, I had already received the fifth one, so I could jump into it right away. I have a lot to say about this book, but because I try to keep my review spoiler-free, I'm going to make two parts of this video. This video will be just a spoiler-free review of how I enjoyed the book, and then I'm going to have another video that's really more my thoughts and really digging into the book. So let's jump right into it. The fifth book focuses on Nesta and Cassian's relationship. In A Court of Frost and Starlight, we see that Nesta is struggling hard after the war. So she is isolating herself. She even bought an apartment far away from the inner circle in kind of a shady neighborhood. She is pushing back people. She is kind of being rude, and she's mentally unstable. Like, she is struggling. Clearly she has issues going on that are way beneath the surface. A Court of Frost and Starlight kind of introduces that, and then we are led into the fifth book, which focuses on Nesta's journey as she heals, and it also focuses on her relationship with Cassian, obviously, and her relationship with Farah and the other members of the inner circle. The fifth book is about 9 months after the fourth, so it's been pretty much almost a year since the war ended. Nesta is still not healing. Farah and her inner circle, her family, gave her space, gave her time to let her maybe, try to figure things out. They constantly were reaching out to her, but she always rejected them. So right now Nesta is kind of just drinking and sleeping around at night and just drowning her sorrows, trying to forget in that way, and kind of just spending Farah and Rhysand's money as kind of a last resort. Farah and the inner circle decide that she is going to go train with Cassian, like just to get her out of the city, get her out of her drinking habits, and try to, give her a purpose, or just try to heal her. So obviously Nesta is not happy about that, and kind of that's where the story heads, and how her relationship with Cassian grows, how she has to work on herself, how she tries to better herself, get over her guilt, her trauma, and we really see everything that went on in Nesta's mind. And not only that, but we also kind of see the aftermath of the war. So peace is still an unstable thing at the moment. The human queens are still out there. Nesta is going to play a big role in that in the book. She has to kind of find these objects. So the healing aside, we also have the plot of having to keep the peace after the war. There's still the human queens that are out there. You have Jurian, and you have Lucien, who's still remaining with the humans. And so there are still people out there who want to destroy the peace. You see Rhysand trying to sign treaties, trying to make all the High Lords like unite, and Nesta kind of does play an important part in that, although it's not really a big part of the story. It's really centered on Nesta's growth. One thing that I find interesting about the ACOTAR series is that when Sarah J. Maas writes about other characters that are not Farah or Rhysand, she always writes it in the third person. So the whole book is in the third person, unlike the other 4 books, which are always in Farah's point of view. So I was expecting it to be the first person but Nesta's point of view, but it was still in the third person, even though it's all about Cassian and Nesta. I just find it interesting because it kind of feels like you still know who the main character is supposed to be. Like, if it's not Farah, it's not the first person. I don't know, it's just like a detail that I noticed, and I think it was like a smart move. How much did I enjoy this book? So at first it was a little bit difficult for me to read, I'm not gonna lie, because I just love Farah and Rhysand so much. They are probably one of the best characters or romances that I've ever read, especially Farah's character. I'm obsessed with her. It was a bit difficult for me to read because it was about a character that I didn't particularly care much about. In the first and second book, I hated Nesta. Like, I absolutely hated her. I found her condescending. I found her rude. I didn't think I would ever understand why she treated Farah the way that she did. However, in A Court of Wings and Ruin, she did grow on me. I was already not hating her, and I could see that, you know, she is dealing with some turmoil of her own. I was curious to know more about her and curious to see her heal, and like excited for her to heal because I want her to be happy. I want Farah to be happy. I want them all to be a happy family. I just want a happy ending. So I was excited for that, but it was still hard to get into it because it wasn't a character that I was excited about as much, if that makes sense. Compared to the other books, the plot is a lot slower. I mean, obviously it's very focused on the mental aspect of it. You're really in Nesta's mind, and I think that Sarah J. Maas did do an excellent job at describing what it is to be depressed, what it is to have anxiety, and what it is to blame yourself constantly or feel guilty or just be stuck in your head so much that you can't live. Like, there definitely wasn't as much action, but I don't think that was the purpose of the book, so it didn't really bother me. What did bother me is that the plot was there. There was a plot for the, you know, like the queens and all the post-war aspect of it, but it wasn't really well played out as much. I feel like everything suddenly happened at the end of the book. For me personally, I really got into it, I think halfway through. I think it was like page 400, and that's where it really started getting more interesting. And you could start to see more of a character development. So in the book, we do get to see some of the old characters. So we get to see Farah, we get to see Rhysand, Amren, Azriel, of course. Mor is much less present because she's somewhere doing something that I won't say. And we also have new characters come into play who were enjoyable, but not as enjoyable as the Inner Circle. I wasn't as excited about them. I don't dislike them, but I do like them. I respect those characters, and I think they were a good addition to the book, and they will be needed for later on because I think they were going to play a part in the future books. But I didn't get the same feeling I had when I met Cassian and Israel and Mor and Amren. They're still my favorites. And I think it was kind of nice to see our characters in somebody else's point of view. You know, you're not going to see Rhysand the same way Farah sees him because she's in love with him, but Nesta, she doesn't hate him, but they don't really get along because Rhysand doesn't like how Nesta treated Farah, right? And so you get to see him more in his role as a High Lord rather than a mate and lover. And it was really interesting to see Cassian and the way he feels about Nesta, and to see how even he feels about Rhysand and Farah, which I loved those little moments he had with them because you can see how much love there is. Even though it is a huge book, it didn't feel like it. I did take my time with it just because I didn't want to finish it, and because, like I said, it was a little bit difficult to really get into it as much as the others, but I still very much enjoyed it. I will never get enough of the ACOTAR world. I could read 20 books on it, 50 books on it, and I don't even care what it is. It can just be them going on a trip and I would be happy. Do I like Nesta after this book? Yes, I definitely like her a lot more now. There were scenes that made me cry, definitely, especially the ending. At the end, there was just a part where I started sobbing and I got really emotional. And throughout the book, you really can relate to Nesta's struggle, no matter who you are and no matter how you feel in life, or, you know, obviously we don't have the same traumas as her. We weren't thrown into a cauldron, we weren't facing the King of Hybern, but I think everyone can relate to her to a certain extent. You know, it's nice to see those aspects portrayed in a character and to relate on that level. I think this book is very helpful for a lot of people. You know, I've talked to many other readers who said that they felt represented, they felt that it helped them through their own journey. I can't agree with that. Is she my favorite character now? No, I still love Farah. Like, I I'm a simp for Feyre, but I have a lot more respect for Nesta, and I definitely do like her now. I don't know how I feel about the romance in this book. This is the first book of the series that is no longer a young adult novel, but it is a new adult novel. So there's a lot more spice scenes, let's say, and a little bit more vulgar, which I'm not surprised about. It's just, I mean, it's a new adult book now. It's no longer a young adult. So Sarah J. Maas was able to kind of let loose. There was a lot more tension, there was a lot more intensity in that sense, but it didn't give me the same level of romance as Feyre and Rhysand. I think their story was completely different, which is great. You don't want it to be a repetition of another love story. You want it to be their own story, but it didn't hit the same. I felt there was just something missing, and I can't put my finger on it. I can't say what exactly that thing was, but sometimes it felt like the chemistry was just not there. Like when we saw Cassian and Nesta's relationship through Feyre's mind, like in her point of view, it felt so intense, and like you felt the tension harder than you do in this book for some reason. But it's still good. You still get happy. You're still happy about them being a, you know, a couple or whatnot, but it's still enjoyable. So I would give this book a 9 out of 10 because there were some stuff that I felt were kind of rushed. The plot wasn't there as much, and the romance slightly disappointed me, but it deserves all the credit it gets just for the healing portion of it, just for Nesta's growth and for how mental illness is displayed in the book. So now that I've finished this book, I have absolutely no idea what to do with myself. I tried to read another book, but I'm so distracted and I can't focus on it because ACOTAR is all I can think about. I hope you guys enjoy it and savor every moment, because we're gonna have to wait like another 2-3 years for the next one. We don't know who it's about yet, but rumors are that it's about Asriel, which I'm hoping because he deserves love and happiness. And in case you guys didn't know, there are 2 special chapters. One of them is Asriel and the other is Feyre and Rhysand. And basically it's at the end of the book depending on which edition you have. I have Rhysand Feyre's obviously, but you can find them online. So many people have already like posted pictures or just written them up in Google Documents. I hope this video was helpful and I hope you enjoy your read. Let me know in the comments how you feel about it, if you have the similar thoughts as me or if you're completely against everything I said. And make sure you check out my Instagram and TikTok as well. And next time I'll be posting a spoiler video of how I felt about this book too. And I'll be reviewing new books to come. Bye!